I would get so anxious to not have my phone on me because the first thing I would think about is what's gonna go wrong. If something goes wrong, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And I mean, I freak out
Well,
about it.
and even if you didn't have your phone on you, you're in your basement anyway, camping. Because Sam camps in his basement.
Welcome back, guys. It's the Not Funny Podcast, and we're doing our part 2 today of
We're in the same
place,
outfits.
still same outfits. It's been about maybe 30
20
minutes since we've
30 minutes, yeah.
last got off on the last podcast, but I left you guys kind of on a little bit of a cliffhanger of my
I'm
crazy,
excited.
yeah,
I've never heard this story.
Yeah,
I'm actually really excited to
so
hear
basically, yeah,
where was it?
it is Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Atlanta, Georgia. So basically what happened is I never went to Atlanta, and this never happened. There was nothing that actually happened. I never went to Atlanta, so I'm sorry that I let you down on that. I apologize.
Really good. He had this whole idea planned out that it was like,
some like just
or should
crazy.
I not have mentioned that?
What?
Nothing.
Oh,
No. We just thought we'd leave you guys on a
little
bit of a
cliffhanger, so maybe you guys
hanger.
will listen to.
Mhm.
But trust me, this episode is just gonna be just as great. Probably we'll see. But actually, I do have an interesting trip that I took. I went to Wisconsin.
Oh yeah,
We can't talk about that.
Yeah.
So
well, before we get there, how far are we from Wisconsin? We're like,
it took me about, I believe,
I mean, we're only like
it's 6
hour and a half, 2 hours from the border.
From the
Wisconsin. That's what
border.
I'm saying.
Yeah, and then so what I actually did was I traveled to basically Milwaukee, which is
if you know where that is,
that's probably like 5 hours.
Way over there.
It was probably about it's probably 6 hours there and back, so about 12 hours.
2 hours north of Chicago.
Yeah,
like it's a ways away.
Yeah, it was probably about a total of a 12-hour trip. And let me give you guys some backstory here. So basically, this was, I think, probably my biggest simp moment in my life. And I don't think anyone else can top that. I don't think there's much. There's not much else.
Right.
Other than that. So basically, there was a girl that I liked, and this was a couple summers ago, and she lived in Milwaukee, or around that area.
But
What?
she went to school.
She went to school
right?
with me at my college, and
you almost said it.
I know I did almost say it. I know
we have mentioned it.
I did mention it by accident in a few episodes ago. Anyways, so I kind of liked her, and we were kind of friends and stuff or whatever. And so I go down to, I was like, hey, do you want to come to Minnesota? It was like after quarantine and stuff. I was like, do you want to come to Minnesota, see some of your friends? You can hang with me for the weekend, and then you can hang out with your friends for the other week.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
right?
it's just whatever.
You're putting yourself out on the line.
Oh, I am fully exposing myself to just like
full
wide
exposure. Open jacket.
Yes.
Trench coat open. Fully exposed.
Yeah. So anyways, I drove down there and drove all the way down there to pick her up. And I get there, I think I left at like 5 a.m. or something like that from Minnesota. And I got there at like 10 a.m. and she had just woke up. And she was like, I'm tired. I'm like, I woke up at 4 a.m.
I just cannot believe you went all that.
I remember you texted me on the road down there. You're like, what are you doing? I'm like, in Milwaukee. And you're like, why? I'm like, going to pick up a girl for the weekend.
Like that, I don't know. It's just so hard for me to like. I don't know. That's a long way.
It was a long way. It was a lot of.
You don't like.
I mean, I knew her for my first year. I knew her for like probably 7 months.
Yeah, but did she ask you to come get her?
She had talked about how she wanted to go to Minnesota or whatever to go see some people because it had been quarantined and stuff. We weren't able to like go. Like she had been dropped and brought back to Milwaukee so she couldn't
Right.
really see any of her friends. And I was like, hey, how about I come pick you up, and then you can go. You have some things that you wanted to do with some other friends in
And
the
then you get
week,
to hang out with her the
and
whole
you can
time too.
yeah. Well, I'll hang out with her for the weekend, and then she goes and hangs out with the rest of the
Yeah,
other people for the rest of the week.
of course.
It was just a nice gesture. Also, hardcore. Just every like my like simp nature had fully exposed.
Yeah.
And so I went all the way to Wisconsin, picked her up at 10 o'clock, and we started driving back.
And she's single at this point too.
Yes.
So
She actually,
I mean, the
yeah.
door's cracked.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're driving back to Minnesota, and we probably were like 2 hours in, probably like halfway through Wisconsin. And there was this guy that she had been talking to a little prior to, and they had broken up, and it was just a messy breakup, whatever. Um, and then she had brought it up. She's like, "Yeah, I'm actually talking to the guy again." And I'm like,
Damn.
I was like,
Oh,
"U
boy.
turn. We're gonna bring it back.
Yeah,
We're gonna bring it
holy
back."
buckets.
Yeah,
And that
that
was
my heart just sank completely. It was.
that.
I wonder if she listens to this podcast.
I don't.
I don't
think
know if
so,
she
but
does,
We'll
but
see. I mean,
yeah, we'll
now
find out.
Now she'll know how
I don't-
you felt about that whole situation.
Yeah, but anyway, so I brought her back to Minnesota still, and I mean, we still
How-
had kind of fun and stuff.
How'd
But
she get home from there?
she had some friends down in the cities that brought her back, um, or I think her parents went and picked her up or something. I don't know, but
It blows. That's a long ways to go. Like that's not
I
just
know,
a little.
I know.
Oh, I'll bring you
Yeah,
home.
I wasn't gonna bring her home,
Oh, that's
and
terrible.
like it was just. I mean, we still had a good weekend. It was fun. I brought her to some. I brought her to like the quarries and stuff.
Yeah.
Which was it's kind of a cool area. And like just brought her around, and we went to like a party and stuff and whatnot. But boy, that was I was regretting it 2 hours in bringing
Yeah.
her back. And I was like, I mean, I all I did was the entire time I was just making fun of her boy, like the guy that she was talking to the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what's he think about this? What's he think about that? Blah blah blah, whatever. And just doing that stuff. And yeah, so that was basically it. But I think that tops for the most simp thing.
Yo,
Sorry, I had
did
a
you burp or cough or?
burp. It was
Oh.
from the bubbly, not sponsored. Um,
Yeah.
so sheesh. Anyways, yeah, but that was. I'm like, I'm kind of uncomfortable just talking about it right now. Like, I don't know if you see like how I'm sitting. I'm like cross my legs. I'm just like hiding, like just
because
trying
you're
to make.
embarrassed about it or what?
Not embarrassed. I mean, kind of embarrassed.
I mean,
Now it's gonna go to everyone. Everyone's
in
just gonna
hindsight,
see-
it's.
I mean,
funny.
yeah, it is funny, but
who,
yeah,
I mean,
it
who
was.
cares? What you're not gonna change it.
No, it
remember-
doesn't matter. I have a girlfriend
I-
now, anyway.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't really talk to this girl anymore. I see her once in a while at school, but it's pretty just whatever.
Yeah. Do you remember? Speaking of long trips that are just. How would you describe it? Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Who was it that was at the? We're going back, circling back to the fair now.
Mm-hmm.
At the county fair,
Mm-hmm.
our county fair.
Okay.
Do you remember this story? And they just took off that night and went to Chicago. Do you remember that?
Wait. Though. Yeah. Yeah.
It
yeah.
was
and yes.
yeah, and they didn't tell anybody.
They didn't tell anybody. I just remember. Okay. I think this is fine now, but I remember.
We can take out the names. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. You might want to bleep them, but I just remember. Them talking or like they just were like, screw it, let's go to Chicago, and they went to
Ballsy.
Chicago, just literally
Like 10 o'clock at night.
yes.
Like it was dark.
And they drove all the way there, and I remember one of the guys called their mom like, hey, I'm in Chicago. And the mom was like, if you're in Chicago, you're not allowed to go for football this
I'm
year.
just kidding.
And he's like, I'm just kidding. I'm at so and so's house right now. So
they got away with it too.
they did get away with it.
Blows my
They
mind.
okay.
Like,
Also, the funny thing though is literally they were there for an hour. in Chicago.
Yeah.
And they went and saw like the
The
bean,
bean
and that was it.
and the
And they
pier or
yeah,
whatever.
and that's all they did. And then they went back. I'm
That's
like,
nuts.
that was just such a spontaneous. It's just so funny. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we got to take a quick break here, guys.
we'll continue to
we'll
talk
continue
about
this in a second here. Peace.
Well, we had a little bit of a break there,
Yeah.
an early break. What
Yeah.
we were in like 10 minutes there.
Yeah.
But-
Unfortunately, we had a little bit of camera misfunction, so we
No.
had the
Yeah. Well, our
battery-
misfunction was that the battery died.
batteries. Yeah. So
So
we had to take a quick break, let it get charged up, snake
So,
some coffees while
we
were
ran
there.
into town here and got
Yep.
some vacation coffee.
Yes, sir. So anyways, we
a
were talking
sponsor.
about not a sponsor, yeah. We were talking about the trip that the spontaneous
Yeah, I don't
trip,
remember
right?
where we were.
I don't
be
either
honest.
really. It's probably been a good half hour.
I think we were just. I mean, it's still is mind blowing to me that they went. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and they just picked up and said, "Let's go to Chicago."
They got there, they saw one thing, and they
Stayed for an
left
hour, and then they left.
and got back.
And we're 7-8 hours to Chicago.
Yeah, it's a good 7-8 hour trip. I mean,
Mhm.
depending
And this
on
was
the
in high school. This was in like 11th grade.
It was
Or was it
either
earlier than-
either 10th grade or 11th grade because
yeah, like we had just gotten our licenses, most of
Yeah.
us. Like we didn't have them
just
for very
went,
long.
just got up and left. I think it was
Which
I
I do
don't-
admire.
yeah. I mean,
I love the idea of just like
props
picking
to
up
them
and going somewhere.
because I feel like for me, I would just
I'd get so
I
anxious and
yeah
like I would not
I
even
could-
today.
yeah. I don't think I could do that honestly with the at that time with the amount of like restrictions that I had. Like I don't
Oh, from
think,
your
like
parents,
my
like-
parents be like, "Why are you in Wisconsin right now?"
Hmm.
Yeah, they didn't know about the Wisconsin trip. No, joking.
Do they know?
Yeah, what?
Did they know at the time?
Yeah, they knew about it because
Oh.
I asked them if she could stay the weekend and stuff.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, it was weird, but I don't know. Have you ever had any of those like just like random like
Like in
just,
the
like,
moment.
in the
let's
moment
go.
like let's go do something that's like
I mean, yeah, but not nearly to the extent of that.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can really think of, and I touched base on this on a previous podcast, so it was the Black Friday shopping when we went
Oh,
at
right.
3 a.m. and
Yeah.
drove down to the cities.
Yeah. That we talked about that in the fall is beautiful podcast.
Was that Fall is Beautiful? I thought.
Yeah, we were outside.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
because we had very little content to work
Yes,
with, and that's
that
what we
was-
went with. But
Yeah.
if you want to see that story, go back. That was episode
Episode
6,
7. I think.
7,
7.
because we just
yeah,
posted
we
8.
posted 8. Yeah.
But-
But let's get off the podcast and talk more about. I mean, did you have any other trips that? I mean, we can stick with this a little more because I know I had a few things. Like I remember, I went to DC for a field trip,
Oh yeah,
with
right.
a class, and
I wanted to go to that so
I
bad.
wish you did. That would have been so fun.
It was
But,
just too expensive.
yeah. Every year our school took our what was it, 10th graders? Was it 10th grade?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like
10th
a civic class or was it history or
It was
something?
history or something.
yeah,
U.S.
okay.
history. We could take a class or take a trip for I think it was just a weekend, like a couple days,
Mhm.
to Washington D.C. and see all like the big things that are there, all the
Mhm.
different historical monuments and stuff. And I just remember like that was like the first time that I had traveled without my parents, and it was,
Really?
yeah, it was the first time. And
Oh, I guess. Okay, so it was 10th grade.
yeah, so I was like, what, 17, 16, 17, no, 16.
Yeah,
Anyways,
well,
but it was really like kind of it was a cool like trip just to kind of like have like hang out and stuff. And I remember we had just a bunch of the kids that went, and it was weird too because like I roomed with one guy that I'm like close with now, and then the other
Who?
guy, huh?
who?
You want to bleep these out maybe? Or,
Yeah, I was gonna anyway.
So, and then
Oh,
or not.
just the
No, it was no, it was
oh, okay.
but it was us three in a room, and one of them didn't shower,
Oh,
and it just smelled in there the entire time.
Hmm.
But so that was one thing that was kind of weird or whatever. And
one of the three of you didn't shower.
I
Including
I
you.
definitely showered.
Well, I don't know.
But
I
yeah,
have something in my throat I cannot get out.
it's all right.
Go ahead.
But yeah, anyways, it was like a fun trip though. We got to like see a bunch of things and just kind of mess around and stuff. I know one kid got super sick and had the like food poisoning or something
Ooh.
and had to go back or whatever, and we were just laughing the entire time because he's down in the bathroom like at a restaurant and just absolutely just destroying the toilet the entire time.
Poor kid.
Yeah,
God.
it was kind of funny though.
Yeah. No, I wish I could have gone on that one. That would have been a really fun trip.
Yeah, it would have been.
I'd love to. I'd still like to go out there and see it.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually, I do remember one other thing. This is kind of gross, but kind of funny. There was a there was a hotel room with like I think 3 kids, and what their goal was they were trying to use the toilet but never flush it.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. But that's all they did was they literally just tried to like just fill it up, but like one of the housemaids ended up flushing it. Like one of the cleaning ladies flushed it, and they were very sad on their progress.
That's terrible. That's gross.
Kind of gross,
I'd
honestly.
never do something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it kind of smelled a little bit in their room, but
I mean,
yeah.
I do fun things like that. Not like that. But
yeah,
it's fun to do things that are wild but that's gross.
yeah,
That's not fun to me.
Yeah, but there was, I don't know. I can't really think of any specific things that were like any other things that were kind of fun in that trip. It was just a lot of sightseeing and a lot of different like things that you never really saw before. All I remember though is like I do remember that all of the cars there, like the common car there was an Audi.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a Ford or Chevy around
Kind of like
here.
California.
Yes.
You go down there and
it was just all super nice cars. Or like the common car was
it's
like
a very, very wealthy area.
Yeah. But yeah, that was basically it for the DC trip. I don't know what else on that.
Well, most trips I've taken have been somewhat local. You know, you drive here, you drive there, around Minnesota, maybe into North Dakota, into Canada. I've been to Canada a couple times because I used to live up by Canada. But I remember, and it's weird because some of my favorite trips are when I'm alone. But it's also, there's this like weird feeling that you get. I don't know have you ever taken like a solo trip?
Just to Wisconsin.
It's fun. No, well, I wouldn't really consider that a solo trip because you picked somebody up.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't think I've really gone on a solo trip before.
I'd like to do it again, just all by myself. It kind of puts you in this like different mind state, I guess. Like it's just like you it feels like you kind of step back and look at everything in a different way. We're getting really deep here.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
But I mean, if you have any comment on that, do you know what I mean? Like, can you understand? Like, no,
kinda in a way, just of like, I mean, living alone for a little, like living by myself.
Right.
I mean, I kind of get that feeling of like when I'm like, I mean, just very like sporadic like moments.
Like when I go on trips by myself, I kind of feel like I'm on the outside of everything, and I'm just looking into the world.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of does.
So that I love going on like solo trips, and it's.
Where do you go for that?
I listen to my own music, and podcasts and whatever.
Do you have a certain spot that you like go?
Well, just like just mostly like driving up to my hometown. Like I've driven up there, stayed by myself, didn't really see anybody. any of my
Yeah.
family or friends, and I would just go golf during the day, you know, and then I'd go back home. I'd go back to my RV or whatever I was in that trip. But I don't know. It kind of like it puts you in a different state in
Yeah.
mind, you know. And when because I went up there last summer. I think so. So not this summer, but the summer before. I went up to north in my RV all by myself, and I was up there for like 8 days
Wow.
all by myself. Well, I had COVID too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I literally sat in my RV for 8 days
And just watch Family Guy.
and I just watched Family Guy. And there wasn't really good service.
Yeah.
So I literally for 8 days I sat in that RV and did hardly anything.
Wow.
That'll do something to you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like mentally,
Yeah.
it was so weird. I was like broken. It was weird. But it was almost like it's almost like I want to chase after that feeling still.
Yeah, it kind of gives you like a sorry, I feel like I have something in my throat. It kind of gives you that like feeling of like almost like independence from like society and everything like that, and then also like just gives you like time to just think about things you normally wouldn't think about. You don't really have anything on your agenda. You don't have. It's kind of like not so much like it's kind of a way of like self-care in a sense, because it's kind of just letting you just like decompress
from
think
the
to
outside
yourself.
world. And,
yeah.
But it sounds like really relaxing, and but I was so anxious the whole time because I just like felt like I was alone. I felt almost guilty for just for not. I tried to talk to people, but like you can't just sit there and talk to everyone all day every day. I don't know. It felt weird. It felt like I was not in the real world.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to go on a trip with like just like one other like someone else, or just go by yourself to like just like leave your phone at home.
Yeah. Or just turn it off.
Or
and
turn
put
it off or completely, and just not have that, like, just kind of free yourself from like the media and all that stuff, and just kind of enjoy like nature and just do some things like go camping or something. Obviously you might want to have your phone on.
That's why I was saying
when I think of that, it's like I would get so anxious to not have my phone on me, because the first thing I would think about is what's gonna go wrong. If something goes wrong, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And I mean I freak out about it.
Even if you didn't have your phone on you, you're in your basement anyway, camping. Because Sam camps in his basement. Sam just decompresses and does a solo trip in his basement.
I mean, in a way, with like being like completely isolated from everyone is kind of like quarantine too.
Right.
Because like I haven't had COVID, or that I know of had COVID, and I mean I've had to been in quarantine multiple times because I've been exposed to someone who had COVID, and it was just like a weird experience, because like even though I'm living down in my basement, like, and my parents are upstairs, my brother's upstairs, I still feel completely isolated and just like not like don't really talk to them much. I'm just sitting in my room. It wasn't a bad experience, but it just was like kind of I wouldn't call it the same thing as what you had, but just kind of in a similar larity sense of what you had.
So you quarantined for the full 2 weeks, or you like tested? And
what I did, I would usually test, and normally it would come back negative, which it always did come back negative because I didn't have COVID. But there was times where like at that time the test results were slower, so it'd take like 3 to 4 days before you get your test results. So I would be sitting there for 3 to 4 days just waiting on a test result, even though I have no symptoms. Or if I do have symptoms, it's like my own mind, like, hey, I have or I think I have COVID, so it's gonna reflect and make my symptoms worse than what there is no symptoms. Like, just
you're paranoid that you have it.
Yes,
and that makes you think. Yeah,
because you've heard of like where like they've done studies of like people with like like back pain or
Like
something
the
like that.
placebo
The
effect.
placebo effect. They give them a medication and
Yep.
then they think it's working, so
Yep.
it goes away without them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird. What kind
It's
of?
really weird.
It is weird.
But I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you have a good attitude throughout the day, you feel better and you have a
Yeah.
better day. If you
Mhm.
have even if you have a bad day in the real world, if you
Mhm.
have a good attitude about it,
Mhm.
you're gonna have a better day than if you had a bad attitude about it.
Mhm.
Like going into work, sometimes I just feel like crap and I just don't feel like I want to go in. But
Mhm.
I always try to put a smile on my face, and then by the end of the night, I'm like, that wasn't that bad. You
Yeah.
know, like I didn't want to go into work, but I just put a smile on and tried to make myself feel like this is fine. And
This is yeah.
or like a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll like think about my next day or what I'm gonna do. You know,
Mhm.
like and that's kind of how I fall asleep too, because I get anxiety in the night time, and I think that's pretty common. I feel like
Yeah.
everyone kind of does.
Mhm.
I always think like in order to fall asleep, I think about like what are we doing tomorrow. Like last night, I was
Mhm.
thinking, oh, I get to record tomorrow. I'm pretty excited
Yeah.
about it, you know. But I don't really know where I was going with that. But
I don't know. It's a good thought though, but we might want to take a quick break here,
Yeah, we
and then we
can.
can come back. We're just running out of time, so we'll come back in a couple minutes here and just continue this thought here.
repeat yourself one more time.
We're gonna
Because I
come back
think-
here. We're
I
gonna come
think
back
you-
here. All
I
right.
think you
Yeah.
repeated yourself.
We're gonna come back here.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.
All right, guys, we're back on the Not Funny Here podcast, and we were,
Not
and
funny.
this is,
It is kind of ironic
I
now
mean, yeah,
from what
ironic.
we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a deeper subject here, and I think we're gonna kind of just keep talking about it. 'cause
Well, it's a deeper subject with
It's
not really having consequences.
mhm.
I mean, we could talk about some deep subjects where it's like a debate or whatever,
yeah, political and
but yeah,
things that
we don't
want
want
to
to go into that. But
Jinx.
'cause- okay,
Sorry. So as we were talking about the like the placebo effect and things like that, and I think
oh yeah, well yeah. So like, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. I don't know what I was gonna say, but
you don't know what you. I was gonna let you go. I think that's kind of just a weird like cool thing though, is like just like how complex our bodies are in the sense of. Are we on a biology like type
I know
podcast now?
we keep
All right,
rolling
we're
into new
rolling
things
off
here,
of
but
different things. But let's kind of focus back towards. I don't really want to go more on. Do you want to go more on the placebo?
well, I was just gonna say like, I mean, do you get anxious? Everyone gets
Yes,
anxious and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? Do you have
so
like a way that you tend to
For-
do it?
for me, yeah. So for me, in my personal experience with anxiety, I never really actually had it until last January was like the first time that I actually had it. And I
Mhm.
think it was an amount of stress that I had on school and stuff that
Mhm.
really
Yeah, I
freaked
mean,
me
that's-
out. And I think that's what kind of brought it into my life.
Right.
And I mean, I still do struggle with it a little bit, and like even with like now, like the weather changing and stuff, like the seasonal depression
Yeah,
type
of course.
stuff, which
Yeah,
sucks
everyone
because
feels
like
that.
yeah, and like that really sucks. But for me, with my anxiety, it's a lot based on like school stuff, a lot of like just like making sure my grades are okay, or
Mhm.
just like different things that are like going on in my life. And I think a lot of it happened with the pandemic and COVID, just because there's a lot of things that a lot of factors of just like not knowing and stuff. And we do know a lot more on COVID and stuff now, but still it's like it's still in our society a lot.
Mhm.
And I think for me, for anxiety, I think how I deal with it, which is weird. For me, I always try and just distract myself as best as I can, because I will get, if I don't distract myself, I will turn into like a panic attack, and those things are definitely not fun to go deal with.
No.
what I end up doing is my best thing to do is either toss on some like good music or a podcast
Yeah.
and then sit down and play video games because it just kind of distracts me from it. And after a while, it starts to fade out, and then I'm able to do more stuff. But it is definitely something that I think us younger people and even older generations too struggle with.
Well, and I think it's a new thing now. It's like I had never experienced anxiety like. Well, I did, but I didn't have a name for it. Like I didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
and it's not like I am diagnosed with something.
Yeah.
But I know what it is now.
Yeah.
And sorry, excuse me.
You're good.
I just think it's so more. There's so many more things happening today than years past. That is so much more like.
I think
more people have it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think a lot of it too is just the expansion of media in general and the information that we're finding out more and more about things. Because I think a lot of this stuff, I mean, maybe not the pandemic, because usually that comes around only like 100 years. Every 100 years we have a worldwide pandemic. But I think what's different about this now is like we have all this information and we're finding out about different things that kind of gives us more anxiety, more depression, because there's so many things that we didn't know about this world that we do now. And I mean, it's nice, it's good that now like that we're also like finding out like, okay, how can we treat like I don't think anxiety and depression, that wasn't really like a thing. I mean, it was a thing 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but it wasn't as normalized.
Prominent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like they
were like, "Oh, you're fine." Like,
yeah,
they just
exactly.
brush it off, whatever.
And nowadays, it's more
like, okay, how can we treat this?
Right.
Through therapy or counseling or anything like that. Medication as well. So I think that's kind of a cool thing that we're living in now, that we're able to like, because like obviously if I lived 30 years ago, and I had this, I would be like, what's wrong with me? Am I a psychopath or something like that?
But the thing is, it's now more than ever so important because so many more people have it today than in the past.
Yes.
It seems. I mean, obviously we don't know, but
I think there's, I think
and it could be the case that because more people have it, more people have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it could be a sort of like kind of like now that we're so aware of it,
right.
It's
more people
apparent.
Come out about having.
Yeah.
You know,
I think there was definitely some, it's always been around, but I think now that it's more prominent in our culture and more aware, and like actually like this month is, I don't know if this will come out in November, but it is Men's Mental Awareness Month.
Right. Is it mental awareness? I guess I don't know.
I think it's mental and physical. I saw it on someone's story. I don't know.
Because the no shave or whatever.
Because the no shave is for prostate cancer,
right?
and we're growing that out right now, so it's looking pretty good.
I got a little bit, but it's so itchy and gross.
But yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at right now, and I think technology has helped us a lot, but it also has hurt us a lot.
I think it's hurt us more than it's helped us, in my own opinion. Because I don't. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, because I think a lot of it too is based on especially for like younger generations and stuff, they get these anxiety and depression symptoms from social media.
Right.
From
and then they just like there's addictions.
Addictions.
Like Fortnite addiction.
Didn't
That's
know that
a new
existed.
thing.
I think my roommate has it.
It just came it's like it's a legit, like if you look it up on like WebMD or whatever, it'll show up.
Actual addiction.
Yeah, it's Fortnite addiction, like specifically Fortnite.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about how there's a lot of different things that, and like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but basically
and we don't have the answers.
No.
At all.
We're not.
I don't personally.
I'm not a therapist. I
have no idea.
I don't think a lot of people, I think most people don't know the answer to these things, but it's just kind of a good subject to talk on, because I think a lot of people have that, can relate to like the anxiety and depression symptoms and stuff. And it's just good to shed light and show that you're not alone.
And we'll have our expert on Nick Beanick here in a couple of weeks. I'm totally lying.
I was like,
I'm totally lying.
wait, for real?
But I mean, we could perceive him as the expert on mental health.
So what do you think, Nick Beanick, about depression? How can you treat that?
Yeah. But I don't know. I just like bringing it back to the anxiety. Do you get? So you just get anxiety on your local things, like the things in your life. Because for me, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, for me, it's like I only ever get anxious about my family, the things I have to do. Like COVID does not bother me. I do get anxious, and then like politics, I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me like that much. You know,
Yeah.
stuff matters, but it doesn't give me like that.
Yeah.
That gut ache, like headache, kind of like anxiety symptoms.
Yeah. I think like for me, I think it's just like my main triggers are like the stress of school and just the stress of like my overall life, of the different things that I have to accommodate during life. And when I get overwhelmed with things, it just kind of gets me freaked out. And I mean, for me, like, I haven't really like for this like during the like I don't know. Do you have like a time, like do you struggle with it like yearly or like all around, or is it just kind of like
it's
here and
throughout the
there?
year. It's just it comes
like,
up at random times when
yeah,
I have a lot going on. Like I don't know, a couple podcasts back, we were talking about how I was working on all my cars and stuff. Some points in my day to day, not day to day, week to week, there'll be a day or two that I'm just like so stressed out and I have like so much crap going on. And that's part of the reason we skipped podcast.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think on both of our sides too, because I mean, I was like one of the times when we had to skip was literally because we were thinking about recording, and for me, I literally had a panic attack because I had so much school and trying to figure out like the rest of my like years at college and just trying to figure that plan out just put me into a and
if you ever get that way, feel free to just scratch it
you too
for the day or
mean,
for the
obviously
week. Well, I do it all the time. I tell you, probably not today, I can't do it.
It's fine. I mean, I think most people understand. I think people understand that people have things.
And it's nice to talk to you about this because it's weird because when you have like a panic attack or you have anxiety for that day or whatever, you only really think about yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you think, okay, I'm all alone right here. I have the problems. But just think like, so just me and you, we both have it like pretty bad sometimes, you know, and I just think everyone has it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a person in this world that doesn't get anxious.
Yeah.
And like really anxious.
I think there's definitely people that like get anxious, but they don't realize it or they don't understand that might be anxiety symptom. Because I know some people that literally they show the symptoms, but yet they're not like actually, they just are able to cover it up or able to just have like gotten used to being able to just cover it up, that they don't even feel the symptoms anymore. But then there's also people that just like take it full on, and then they're I don't know why I'm trying to say that, but
yeah, no, I get it. People show it differently. Everyone shows it differently.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone strives to not show it.
Yeah. But sometimes I think it's good though for like
to be honest
and be vulnerable about it, because I think most people can relate to it. And like for me, like when I've had those times, I've called my girlfriend because I can talk to her.
It kind of grounds you.
And just grounds me a little bit better and helps me kind of get out of it and stuff. And I think it's good to talk to people about it, especially when you're going through it, because you always think you're alone, but you're never alone.
No, never. Yeah, but so those local things, those things that are close to me that get me stressed out or whatever, the way I deal with it is is I try to think of the things that, you know, and I've this is not my idea,
Mm.
but you've probably heard of it. Like
Mm.
you just kind of either write it down, the
Yeah.
things that are bothering you, and then you
Mm.
pick out the things that you can control.
Mm.
And most of the time, you can't control the things that are stressing you out.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool tool. And once again, I did not come up with that idea. I
Yeah.
have no idea where it came from.
Yeah.
But
I've heard of it too, so I know what
you
you
just
mean.
you got to think of the things you can and can't control, and the things you can control, you're probably already in that. You know, you're probably already doing what you can control to the
Mhm.
best of your ability. So the things you can't control, you gotta relax and you know, I don't really know where I was going with
Yeah.
that, but I think you get the idea.
No, I know what you mean by that.
But otherwise, like if it's not too crazy,
Mm.
most of the time I watch, like I have a couple shows and a couple YouTube videos that I like to watch, and just they're not like on therapy or stress or whatever. They're just
Yeah.
like something that grounds me. Like honestly, I'm gonna be honest here. Family Guy, for whatever reason, I think I've told you this before.
Yeah, you literally.
Family Guy just grounds me. It just takes me out of my stress.
Mm.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. I don't know why, but I've seen every episode so many times.
Yeah.
But do you have anything like that where you just do it over and over again just to
Just
relax?
to kind of relax.
Yeah.
I mean, the podcasts that I usually listen to just kind of help me relax.
Mhm.
Usually because they're pretty light-hearted, unlike this episode right here.
Yeah.
Usually they're just like funny and whatnot.
What podcast is that?
Usually it's like Stiff Socks.
Oh, okay.
and
So it
then,
is a comedy podcast.
Yeah,
Shout
and
out.
then TMG, Tiny Meat Gang.
Shout out.
Shout out. But those are like the main two that I kind of listen to, and they kind of
Mhm.
help me get out of that. And otherwise, just like some sort of like happy music as well, just to kind of like, which
Like
I've noticed.
upbeat,
You know
like-
what I've actually noticed is, I really liked during January when I first was getting it. I always tossed on Surfaces. Like, do you know the artist Surface or Surfaces? No.
Maybe. I guess.
Okay. Well,
does it-
they're
but it-
more like this, like just chill music, like really
Do they have a popular song?
like Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Sunday
some.
morning rain is falling.
No,
Okay,
that's Maroon 5.
Shout out. Maroon 5.
So yeah, like I would always listen to them, but the other day I tossed them on because I was kind of in that mode, and I literally, it just made me worse. Like it was more of
Yeah.
a trigger
Yeah,
of like
right.
reminding me of all this other things, and I like literally like I had to turn it off. I'm like I guess that's a trigger now to
Yeah.
make it worse, so I can't listen to that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, one of my triggers for like getting me anxious is the grocery store music.
Really?
Yeah, like there was certain songs that like I must have been so stressed out or just so unhappy to be at work that time, and those songs would play.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I hear those songs outside of work, it brings me back to that feeling.
Yeah.
And that's the same with like, it does not matter what kind of phone call ring, like the ring on a cell phone.
Uh-huh.
Like if I hear that on TV,
Mm-hmm.
it just gives me chills. I'm like, oh,
From more.
like that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like
I think it's
there's no problem with phone calls.
kind of like a psychological type thing, and I don't know if you
It's
took
weird.
psych in high school, but
I
like
didn't.
we'd had this time where we listened to, I can't remember what song it was, Camila Cabello, something, I don't remember what it was called, Havana, that song, and we would. Is that just giving you chills right now?
Does it? Does it? What ringtone
that
do you
I
use?
hate that. I hate
Okay.
that song because it's always a.
Okay, listen to this. Now, does this give you kind of stress? Oh,
You
wait.
just clicked it. Yeah,
like that instantly gives me.
because that's what I wake up to every single morning.
I know, and I think that's a kind of a universal thing. But
Yeah, and I think that's like just like in the psychology class that I had, we listened to a song and we put like something that would salivate our mouths like salivate or make our mouths like watery.
Yeah.
Like we had to like suck on something sour.
Mhm.
And now whenever I hear that song, my mouth salivates. I don't know if that's the right
Ooh.
word for it, but like that's kind of the psychological like thing with
Yeah,
like
that's weird.
music. It can kind of
And that was like a study or something that you guys were learning about?
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah.
Well,
Well,
I think we should take another break
yeah. I think
for a little bit.
yeah,
and
so
we'll come back and
yeah,
keep going here because
Yeah.
we can't stop. Yeah.
I guess. Alrighty. Well, we'll see you in a minute. Hey guys, it's Sam from the Not Funny Podcast. I'd like to take a quick second to plug our media. Our Instagram is official_not funny. Also, our TikTok is Not Funny Podcast. Be sure to follow both of those. We post exclusive content and different clips before the podcast actually drops. So if you guys want a little teaser beforehand, make sure to follow that. We also have our YouTube, which you're watching this on. Make sure to give us a follow on that and subscribe. Click that little ring button, to get those notifications for when we drop our podcast, and make sure to follow those. Follow us along too for our great journey that's ahead of us. Thanks, guys. And we are back.
This is a long one,
This is a long one. I mean,
but it is really interesting. I mean,
think-
I don't talk about stuff like this a lot.
I don't either, and I think it kind of is more of like it's a freeing type, like not freeing, but it's
No,
it's
I know, I understand you. I know
It's
what you're
kind
saying.
of like I don't know, it's a reliever
it's
because
good to
like,
talk about it,
Yeah, it's good to talk about it and just shed some light on it.
and it's
being
really nothing
vulnerable.
serious,
No,
but
but
it's fun.
yeah.
Not fun. But
So we
there's
were
another-
talking kind of about like the psychological effects of like different things of like music and like different
Mhm.
triggers like that. Do you have anything else that you would say that kind of triggers you from?
yeah, I
Because
don't
like
know.
for me, I've noticed that like I used to watch like a bunch of like horror films and like really like dramatic, like stressful like movies.
Mhm.
And I can't watch them anymore. I literally
Not at
can't.
all?
Like I watched I went and saw a movie with my girlfriend a couple months ago. I think it was like it was like a suspense movie
Mhm.
in a way where I don't remember what it was called.
Thriller
Kind of.
deal?
But basically what happened was these people went on a vacation to an island, and they all had different like different like disabilities type thing.
Okay.
And it was like mentally or physically.
Uh-huh.
And they were brought to a private beach, and they were basically like, it was like some sort of beach that was like you couldn't escape it and you age super quickly. And what happened was, I mean, it's not a super popular movie, so I can spoil it. Basically, these scientists were examining and trying to give them medication that would heal their disability and
Yeah.
would and it was like fast progression of how fast they were growing, so you could see the effects if they were gonna like if it works or not. And I think just that trigger of like the like people and like different like disabilities and stuff like that gave me a ton of anxiety, and I literally walked out of that movie to go use the bathroom for like 5 different times because
You
I
just had to
literally
really-
I
you
had to
just had to-
I had to decompress because it was just too stressful for me.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, it's weird because you can't really pinpoint why.
no.
It just kind of gives you a weird feeling when you watch something so
Yeah.
traumatic. I guess
yeah.
you could say.
Yeah. So I stick to comedies and little kids movies now.
Yeah.
I also
love
get
Pixar.
I also I
We've
also
talked
get
about
like
that before.
I
but-
don't know if it's like a weird this is very very being vulnerable, but I get more emotional now, which is weird.
Oh yeah, no, I
Like,
understand. I think everyone would agree.
I literally cried at Space Jam 2.
Did you?
At Space
Oh, yeah, I
Jam
think
2.
you told me that.
I cried because LeBron and his fake son were back reunited, or Bugs Bunny was gonna die or something. I'm
Oh.
like, why am I crying at
Yeah.
this?
No,
This
I
is not
understand it.
like I think most people can like relate to tearing up when Tony Stark dies in Endgame. I don't know if
Never
you're a
seen
Marvel
it.
movie. You never
No.
seen it. Anyways,
Maybe
like
I don't know.
I teared up with that,
Yeah.
but like a kids movie about a
You know what the
fictional
saddest movie in the world is?
What?
And I will bawl my arse off.
what's
Have you ever seen Click
Click?
with Adam Sandler?
I think
He
I
has
have.
like the remote
Wait,
that he
and he
can
has
fast
the
forward
yeah,
his
yeah,
life.
yeah.
That is the saddest movie in the world. I don't care what people say. That is the saddest movie.
That is a pretty sad movie.
It
I've
is the
seen
saddest
and it's
movie.
really like it's deep.
Yeah.
Like this.
Like I thought
this
that was more
episode.
sad than that. What's the movie? The Fault in Our Stars.
I never saw that one.
You didn't?
No.
Okay, that's pretty sad. You should probably see that one.
Is the Notebook sad too?
I don't know. I've never seen the full.
I just have
I've
heard,
seen the beginning of it, but
I've just heard about that one. A lot of women like that one. So it is.
Yeah. No. What were we talking about? I can't even remember.
We were talking about like triggers of like different.
Oh
I was
yeah,
talking about,
and
like,
you
the
get
movies and
really
stuff.
sad.
Yeah, and emotional. Yeah, I don't know. It's
No,
weird.
I understand what you're saying though. Like,
Mhm.
and I
weird.
think there's so much going on in our world right now that it's like traumatic for everyone.
Yeah.
So it everyone's kind of on the edge of like falling apart.
Yeah.
Everyone's just hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Like
Yeah.
everyone's kind of on the brink of, because I talk to people and they just don't know what they're doing with their life, and it's like, and maybe that's where we are in life
It
right
might
now.
be tough just like for us too, because like we're on that transition of like, okay, what are we doing after school? What is our
Yeah.
occupation for life? Or what do we want to do with our lives?
Mhm.
And then also having the pandemic that just really screwed us over in different aspects of like just like different experiences that like a normal thing. And
Mhm.
I'm more glad that the pandemic is going on though, like right now, than if it was like 5-6 years ago when I was in high
Right.
school, because I feel like it would have been a lot more different.
Yep.
But
No.
I think
Yeah.
it's a different perspective for everyone.
Mhm.
And everyone probably thinks that their age group is probably the worst.
Right. No. But I think
And-
we're in that stage, like me and you, like specifically our age,
Hmm.
within a year or two.
Yeah.
We're to that point where it's like, okay, well, I know college and going to college or picking or deciding if you want to go to college,
Hmm.
that is like stressful. You don't know what you're doing with your life, but I feel like you're supposed to, when you're done with college, you're supposed to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But right now, it's like, do you know exactly what you're doing? I mean, we're not that far off from
I know.
being
it's,
done with school.
It's weird. Like for myself, I think it's like I mean, I don't really know at this point really. I have a small plan of like what I want to
Mhm.
do, but like it's still like it's only a
It's
year
like a
and
basic
half.
Scratch plan.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
not like
have a year and a half to figure out what I'm gonna do with my
nothing's
life.
set in stone yet. Like you just
Nothing. Haven't
you
done,
don't know where you're gonna live.
Yeah.
You know,
I haven't even done an internship yet,
right?
which that's one thing that I need to get on, even though I really can't do that until after I graduate,
Mhm.
according to my plan. But I think it's weird right now because it's like, where am I and what do I want to do with my life? And I don't know what I mean. You seem like you kind of have a little more of a plan than I would with things, but
You know, and sometimes like I say I have a plan, and it's like I'm just that's
just-
my shell.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everybody. Like,
yeah,
this is what I'm doing. This is my plan. I got everything figured out. I'm gonna be a millionaire by the time I'm 23. You know, this is how I think.
you got 3 years, boss.
But I mean, that's just how I think. But no, and I truly believe that 99% of people do not have a plan.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are able to hide the fact that they don't have a plan. Like
Right.
they're
They
like,
have
"Oh,
a plan, but
they have a
it's-
plan. Like they're able to cover it up with like all these cool internships that
Yeah.
they're doing, or like all these experiences that they're working
Mhm.
with, and all these people, but they still are waiting for the day that they have to actually figure out what they're gonna do with their life. I mean, as for me, for like a college student, I think that's like usually like around like the last semester of college. I know you're kind of wrapping up college here,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, I'm done after this semester
yeah.
unless I fail. then I'm back. But
then you're back. But
I think I'll pass.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that kind of leads into the topic. Like we kind of started we began to talk about where we feel we are in life. But I mean, maybe we can save that for the next podcast.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to.
I think we're gonna have to too.
Because we're gonna run out of time here. Because you've been here for.
I've been here since 10:30.
Holy buckets!
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a long day.
Yeah.
Not long at all. It's actually gone really quick.
And then there was another topic I wanted to dive into, but I mean we can save that for next time too.
Yeah, we'll save that for next time.
We'll write it down. And,
yeah, write that down because I don't actually know what you're gonna talk about.
But I'll just leave it at this: is like, so we can talk about. Sorry, hold on.
Got to stop the timer.
Yeah, we're going over time here a little bit.
We're gonna get triggered.
We next time we can talk about where we feel we are and where everyone else is and all that. We kind of went into that, but
a little bit.
It's really not funny this time.
No, I mean,
for real,
but I
funny.
don't think this is like a bad thing to talk about, though. It's not something that's like gonna bore people because it's what most people can relate to.
I also wanted to talk to you about how you deal with like sadness, and specifically if you ever just jump into sadness. If you know what I mean by that.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean.
I guess I won't go into it much, but
yeah, I think
we're dead here. So
yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up here.
Wrap up.
Thank you guys for watching again, though, and click that subscribe button. And this is Not Funny Podcast. Goodbye.